Hey everyone, this is Daniel, and in today's video, I want to focus on the Power BI reports that come along with the Power Platform Center of Excellence Toolkit. Now, even though the Power Platform Center of Excellence Toolkit's model-driven app comes with this beautiful dashboard, the section for apps, and the section for flows, I'm still going to tell you why the Power BI report is the best option to share with your app makers and users. So I'll first start by showing you how to go ahead and configure this. We will take the dashboard Power BI report that is made available, go ahead and add the correct org URL and load it for the Power BI report to finally set up. In addition, if you run into a problem like this, I'll show you how to go ahead and troubleshoot that as well. So stick around because this is a topic that is not covered in detail in the Microsoft Learning document, and I want to deep dive into it. But first, here's my intro video. So in order to focus on the Power BI reports that I'm talking about, you need to have the Microsoft Power Platform Center of Excellence Starter Kit configured in your tenant. And this is not just for what I'm showing you right now. This is like the #1 service or solution that you should have configured in your tenant before you can embark in this Power Platform journey, because this tool will allow you to monitor everything that is going on as far as Power Platform is concerned, and then also help you with all the governance that you're going to do. So that is the first thing that I want you to be aware of. So let's say that you've gone ahead and configured the Center of Excellence Toolkit, all your flows have run, and now you're coming over here to the Power Platform admin view, which is a model-driven app, and you see all of this awesome dashboard type of a look and feel. You see the dashboard, you are able to go ahead and see all the information about the apps, the flows, and the environments. There is some good data which is available over here. But therein lies the problem. There is just too much data available over here, and things can get a little confusing for the everyday app or the flow maker. So for someone like them, you don't want to give them this level of access, because for this all to work, all the diagrams and all the data to load, you pretty much have to give them full system administrator role level access for this environment that has the CoE toolkit running. And so for people like them, the next best option is to go ahead and use the Power BI report that comes along with the toolkit, the starter kit. That is what you want to go ahead and use. And that is what I'm going to focus on next. So what I have over here is the CoE starter kit that I've actually gone and installed in my tenant. And over here, you can see that there are these 4 Power BI reports, and their file extensions are the PBIT, not the PBIX, but they still work, and I'll show you how. But the big one that we want is this one, the production_CoE dashboard _ the month and the year. Now, I did this for the February of 2023 month. You could go ahead and do it whenever at your convenience. But bottom line is that is the one that I'm going to go ahead and do right now, right? So that's the first requirement. You go ahead and first of all have the CoE toolkit configured. You go ahead and grab this Power BI report, but then you need one more important thing. And for that, we've got to go to the Power Platform Admin Center, or PPAC. We got to go to the environments, and in the environment, go ahead and grab that environment where you install the CoE toolkit. So here's mine. I've just called this Power Platform CoE, and I put the month and a year. When I click on it, what you need to go ahead and grab is this environment URL. So basically just come, right click, copy the entire link address, and if you want, go ahead and open up a notepad, and in that notepad, paste it just to make sure that you get everything as is. One more little tip. You see way at the end, you actually have that additional /, leave it, do not remove it. Because every once in a while, I've seen some little weird things happen that I had removed that and it would not load. So I'm not entirely sure if it is needed, but I have kept it and it works. So that's the tip that I'm sharing with you. So leave that as is, okay? I'm just gonna move this aside over here to the right. All right, so now what I'm going to do is go ahead and open up my Power BI. So here you go. I'm going to click on my start. I actually already have that over here, Power BI desktop. So I'm going to click on it. And once it opens up, this is what it's going to look like. All right, the Power BI is opening up. This secondary pop-up comes with a Power BI desktop. I'm going to go ahead and click on this because I don't want to use any of that. Another tip is go ahead and make sure that you have signed into it, because it's going to use that sign-in authentication to go ahead and make sure that you've got all the access. If you don't have a sign-in, in fact, it'll just say sign-in. If you don't have that, the loading piece of the Center of Excellence Starter Kit will start giving you some errors, all right? So make sure you've taken care of that, because that takes care of the original authentication. All right, so we've taken care of that. All right, so now what I'm going to do is go to File, and in my file, I'm going to go and click on Open Report or Browse Reports, either one of them. And then right over there, we are going to go ahead and now find where I've got the Center of Excellence Toolkit. So let me just go back to my administration, please. This is my starter toolkit. And I'll click on the Power BI files, and I'm going to go and search for the PBIT, the Power BI template files. And the big one that I want to focus on is this one right here, Production CoE Dashboard, February 2023. Click on it, click on Open. All right, so now when it starts loading, the first thing it's going to go and ask us for is what's called as the org URL. Well, the org URL is the exact same thing as that environment URL that we went and grabbed. Okay, so that's the one. That's why I told you. Let's go ahead and actually copy it and paste it. So here you go. I've actually got my URL. I'm going to go and highlight the whole thing, which is all the way to the end, and I'm going to do a Control C. Come over here, do a Control V. Now let's go and click on Load. This is the part where you understand that you've got all the permissions level, you've got all the access level, you've gone and signed in. This is the ultimate test. The permissions level also means that make sure that you've got the Power Platform admin role or the PPAC admin role. That's one of the neat things that you want to have. I mean, that's one of the important things that you want to have, just to make sure that initial permissions are all good. Make sure that you've got a, the at least a fairly newer Power BI desktop installed with the newer version. And then you've also gone in and signed in like I've shown you over here. So the loading is happening. The moment you come to this section or the loading, which means you made the connection, it's pulling the data, and everything over here is now working. So once we go ahead and finish all of this, you will have the fully finished product over here, directly done, completed, and you'll actually start to see the data load. So on the right side, you can see all of this little data and all the tables are coming in. On the left side, you can actually see that this is basically the original page, which is the introduction page, and all of these other pages there. This is a fantastic Power BI report with all its bells and whistles already made available for you at zero cost. And leveraging this is a no-brainer. So I'm really glad that they're actually taking the initiative to do that. But from here on, you can make some decisions, because remember, you've got the full report, you've got the full data connection. You can make decisions of how I want to tweak this to match my company's requirements. And so that's the next thing that I want to focus on. So as I do a quick scan of all of these report pages that are available with this Power BI report, again, you kind of get the same idea as the Center of Excellence Toolkit environment, that a lot of data is covered over here. Granted, the Power BI report is great because over here, users can only read it. But even over here, I need to decipher, do I want to share all of this information with everyone, and also decipher who it should be? So the first thing I know, that the governance team, if your company has a Power Platform administration team, the governance team, or both of them together, they need to see all of this. So let's focus on those people first. So on the top, first of all, I'm going to go and save this. All right, so I'm just going to click on my save. I'll make sure that I'm in the correct folder, and I'm going to call this as my Power Platform Governance Report. I'll leave that as a PBIX, and I'm just going to click on Save. So right now, at least it is saved on my local machine. Other things you can do is now go ahead and add it a little bit of a taste of your own company. So for example, I can click on Insert. In my Insert, I can go ahead and add my image, and in my image, I can select my own company logo. And then right over here, you've got this nice logo. So you can actually add a little bit of touch of yours. You can do a little bit of your branding. That's a whole separate topic, but just showing you something over here. Now, again, this is only for that administration or for the governance team. So they should be able to see everything. So just make sure everything is loading, all right? So I'm going to come now over here to the Overview Power Apps. And when I click on that one, I get this error. What is this error? Okay, let's read it. It says, map and field map visuals aren't enabled for your org. Contact your tenant admin to fix this. All right, let's see what the details are. And when I click on the details, it's basically saying that I need to go and do something in the admin portal. It's not very clear what admin portal is it talking about. Is it the tenant administration in Azure? It is in the Power Platform Admin Center? What are you talking about? And if you apply a little bit of common sense, you can kind of put the two and two together, that this is the problem which is happening on a Power BI report. So maybe it is referring to the Power BI admin portal, all right? So after I went and did my own research and I was able to troubleshoot it, what I quickly found out that we do in fact have to go to the Power BI admin portal. So right over here in the Power BI admin side, click on the settings, and on the settings, go to the admin portal, just like that message says over there. And in the admin portal, we want to go in the tenant settings. And if you start to scroll down, if you just keep going, I'm scrolling, and I keep going down, So as I come to the integration settings, I see a few options over here for maps. I see one, which is the use ArcGIS maps. I see another one, use Azure maps. And then this is the one, is the map and fill map visuals. So if I go quickly and take a look at that error, and if I click on it, it's actually telling me about that, is that the enable map and map fill visuals. So that's the one that I need to go. It was basically the last one that we saw. So right over here, map. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to toggle it to enable. All right. Now it says unapply changes, which means I need to go ahead and hit apply. And then all this jazz happens. It's important that you see this message that pops up on the top right. It says tenant settings changes will be applied within the next 15 minutes, which means that there is some back-end cycle that happens, and then we just need to make sure that ours actually applies over there. So for best practice, do what it says, come back after 15 minutes and go ahead and load this all over again. And then once it loads, we should no longer actually see this error. So let's just wait for 15 minutes, come back over here and see what happens. So I waited for 5 minutes. That was enough for me. And here's the important thing, is that don't just have that Power BI report open and do a neat refresh over there. Close the entire Power BI Desktop Professional, close it, all right? And so now I'm going to go ahead and open it. So I already see it available. So I'm going to click on the Power BI Desktop. It is opening up fresh again on my local machine. And then in my case, when it's opened up, it already remembers the previous one that I opened, which is the governance one that you and I saved it as. Remember, we said Power Platform Governance. So I'm going to click on that. It's going ahead and loading. All the connections and everything is going to go and load with it. Everything should just basically pop up. This time I should not have to put in that org URL. All of that is already done. As you can see, the data is loaded. And this is pretty neat because right now, remember the last click we did was because the overview Power Apps page that we had selected, that's when we saw the error before. But now the problem has been solved because it's working. We went and turned on the service. So on the top, it gives me a tip. It says to make multiple edits fast, pause visuals, everything, blah, 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 you'll spend less time. So I'm just going to say, don't show this again. But all in all, the most important work has already been done. So now actually comes the easy part. The easy part is to go ahead and decide which all of this data you want to show, and then where do you want to save it to. So coming back to our original discussion, this one, which has all of this information, is perfect for the Power Platform admin or the Power Platform governance team. So for that team, I have created a dedicated workspace in Power BI. And if you're not familiar with workspaces, think of workspace very similar to the concept of environments. You know how environments, we can go create an environment and just put all your apps and flows and data versus everything over there. Similar concept in Power BI, you have workspaces. So you can basically keep that as contained place for all your basically Power BI reports and other stuff of Power BI there. But it really helps for going ahead and doing the sharing and the collaboration, right? So in this case, I'm going to only do the sharing and the collaboration with the Power Platform governance team. Therefore, I've created a dedicated workspace for that. And I'll just quickly show you right over here in my Power BI. If I go back outside my Power BI, if I click on my workspaces, I actually have created two workspaces. One is called as the Power Platform governance team, and the other one is just Power Platform users, because I am going to share a lighter version of this report to my Power Platform users as well. But right now our focus is the Power Platform governance, all right? So that's what it is, Power Platform governance. When you come to the governance, you can click on the top right and you can basically see who all has access to it. I am by default the admin, which is great. But over here, we can go ahead and give all the other people access to it. I'll deal with that access in just a second. So this is it. This is our most important workspace for all the admins. So I'm going to come back over here to the Power BI on my desktop, and I'm going to click on Publish. Now, the first time it publishes, this is the very first time you will have to authenticate in. You will have to put in your username and password, basically your Office 365 username and password. It'll also show you all the workspaces that you have admin level access to. And in our case, I just showed you I had the Power Platform governance team. So I'm going to click on that select. And now I'm going to select it. It's all there. And I'm going to click on select again. And it's going to go ahead and publish it over there. Publishing means it will now go ahead and actually send the data. It will go ahead and actually make the Power BI report as well. And it just takes care of that automatically. And it happens pretty fast too. See, in my case, while I was just talking to you, the success basically happened. If you want to access directly the Power BI report, it gives you the URL right over here. So I can actually click on it and it takes me directly to the Power BI report. Tells me when I've gone ahead and I've published it. So all of this jazz already happens in the back end, and you're in good shape, okay? But what I do is I go back to my actual Power BI, the workspace, and I just do a refresh. So I'm in my workspace and I see two things. You will always see at least these two things when you do a publish from your desktop is you will see the report and you will see the data set. Data set means it is a set of all the data that you have tied to this report. That's the whole concept of data set. But I just want to pause away and show you something. We have the report, we have the data set. In our case, our data set is coming from an online dataverse. And as you know, the dataverse tables for that Center of Excellence toolkit is always getting updated, all right? Because over there, new apps and new flows are running in. The Center of Excellence starter kit, it has its own solution, its own flows that are actually going ahead and updating all that table. So we want to make sure that our Power BI data set also gets refreshed with the most latest of information. And as you can see, our refresh schedule hasn't been set yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select now this data set, and then I'm going to go actually to the settings. And in the settings, I'm going to go and now set up a refresh. Now, I'm also showing, because this is a real world example, I'm doing this with you. You may actually run into the same problems as well, is that fail to test the connection to your data source, please retry your credentials. This is a very simple fix. You basically click on it and it will make sure that you actually have all the credentials. So I'm going to actually first put my privacy level. I'm going to put that as an organization level because that's what works for me. And I'm going to do a sign in. In my sign in, it may ask me to go ahead and authenticate in all over again. And this is what it is, okay? It's telling me, is this the account? Go ahead and pick an account. I'm going to say, yep, that is my account. You go and put in the correct one that you used to go ahead and actually connect to the data and then go ahead and actually publish it. So make sure you do that. Once you do it, you will actually not see that error anymore. And then you come down to the refresh. So right over here in the refresh, as you can see, it hasn't been set up yet. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to toggle this on, and now you decide how often this needs to happen. Because remember, this is your Power BI report, and you know how your Center of Excellence toolkit has been working, because there's a lot of flows that run in on a regular basis. The report and its data being updated once a day is enough for me. You can go ahead and tweak it, whether it's daily or weekly. You've got some options over there, and then you can go ahead and add another time. But I'm actually good. What I do want to do is that if any of these fail, I want to make sure it sends somebody a report. So I'll send it to at least myself. I just start typing it in, and then it'll actually go ahead and pick me up. So I like what I'm seeing over here, and I'll go and click on apply. And basically, now if I go back originally to all of the, the general basically, and I go one step outside to my, the actual workspace that I have, you will now see that the next refresh time is set over here. So we are actually done from this point because we went and created one specifically for the governance reporting team or the Power Platform administration team. Now you could take this one step further by going ahead and publishing the report because if you've got a Teams team specifically for your governance, Power Platform governance group, go ahead and publish it over there. But if you already have a Teams team or an M365 group, use that group over here to go ahead and give access to this. So just to show you quickly, here are all my teams. And in my teams, I have got a Power Platform governance team, right? This is a brand new team we just created. And these are all the members who are the admins and the governance people who take care of all the DLP policies, everything. It's one big team. They come over here and they actually use this team a lot. So I've already got the members over here. I don't have to go and create another security group. I'm just going to use this Microsoft 365 group. And Power BI allows you to do that. Just remember that the name we have used over here is the Power Platform Governance Team. I'm going to go and minimize this. And then on the right, I'll click on Access. And over here, again, search for that Power Platform Governance. That's all I'm going to type in because now it'll start searching for it. And I only have one of them. It's called Power Platform Governance Team. So I'll click on that. I'm going to make that as basically just member right now. You could tweak it however you want. If you want a contributor, or just viewer, do what you think is right. But I'm going to stick with the member. And then I'm going to click on Add. And then it will go ahead and save it. So now I can actually share that report with somebody as well. Or I could even go and publish it directly in Microsoft Teams. A little tab comes up. But all that jazz can happen. Right over here, I can go and click on the share. I can go and click on Teams. In Teams, another option comes up. It'll just make sure it's going ahead and signing me in. Then it'll tell me where is it that you want to go and do sharing, because it doesn't know which Teams I'm in. Granted, we use that M365 group. It's not that smart. So it's basically saying type the name of the channel. So I'm actually going to say this was the Power Platform. That way it'll go and actually do a search right there. See, it's selected that, so I'm good. I'll click on share. Once the share thing, so your link has been shared, I'll click on OK. And then if I go back to my teams, you will actually see that it automatically got shared over here. We can also take it one step further. I can actually add it to a tab, go to my Power BI. In my Power BI, same process, it will now go and show me which are all my workspaces. So it's actually the Power Platform governance screen team. Select that, here's my report. I'll go and click on save, and once it is saved, it says manage permissions for Power BI, which is exactly what we want. I went there and actually pinned it over there. I mean, added as a tab. Beautiful. So this is now how we handle for the governance team. Now let's go and talk about how we want to do it for the actual makers and the users. So how much you want to share with the makers or the users, or say with your line of businesses or people who are the leads in your different departments, they want to see these reports. The question that you have to ask yourself, the governance team, is how much data do I want to share with them? Because again, remember, too much data can get confusing. So always ask yourself, what all have we actually gone active in right now? So I'll give you an example. If you are a company which has already made just apps, flows, and say chatbots, then those are literally the 3 things that you want to make available in your customized reports for them. So if you just look down directly over here, you've already got this type of introduction, but the introduction talks about everything. So you may want to remove this introduction piece because that can get a little bit too confusing. Instead of removing it, you can tweak it. Basically, you can just go ahead and just put in from the monitoring standpoint, definitely remove the governance, remove the nurture. And in the monitoring, go ahead and just put in our Power Apps, go ahead and put in the Power Automate and Chatbot, and go ahead and basically delete everything else. So that way you can keep the introduction. Otherwise, if you want to create your own custom one, just come to the introductions tab, page, right click on that, and basically just go and say hide the page. So it goes away. I mean, it goes away as in when you publish it, it doesn't show up in the actual report side. Same thing for the other ones, because remember the example that I gave was apps, flows, and chatbots. So everything else, as far as the solutions go, I'm going to go ahead and make that as a hide. I'm going to go ahead and actually the business processes hide. A whole bunch of them are going to be on the hide. Environments one, think about it. You might want to keep your environments one available for them to see, especially even the environment activity, so that people have an idea of, man, how much capacity am I already using? This may not be a bad idea to show it to them. So you could at least consider keeping the environments and the environment's capacity, but all the other ones, you could basically go ahead and do that as a hide. Now keep that in mind that after you've done this, save this as an entire different report, because remember right now this is showing up as the original governance one. So what I'll do is I'll click on the file, I'll click on save as, and then this one is going to be not the Power Platform governance report. This is going to be the Power Platform user report, right? So I'll go and click on that, and it's now saved nicely as its own separate report. And once it is saved, I'll go and do a publish. Now in the publish, I have created a completely separate workspace. Remember the Power BI section called workspace? I've created a separate one for them. It's called Power Platform users. So I don't want to do the mistake of 2 things, either saving it in the same workspace or even accidentally saving it over there. Just make sure that it is in a completely different workspace. That way you can handle permissions over there a lot more easier. Remember, governance team, separate workspace, another one for the Power Platform users, right? So I'll select that, click on select, which means now it's going to publish it, this report, the one for the users, in a completely separate workspace. And as you know, it happens really fast. So it goes through and now publishes it directly over there. Now that you need, I've seen this before, if you just click on it, it'll open up directly our Power BI report. And in the Power BI report, it takes you directly to the browser version of Power BI. And as you can see, all the other ones, that introduction tab, missing because we went and hid it. So this is what I showed you over here is what the users will see. Now I only went and hid a few of them. You go ahead and do a good job thoroughly going and seeing what is it that you think the users or the makers of the company should be seeing. That's a decision that you need to make with your governance team. And then keep in mind, for this report, you've got to do the exact same thing, which means I got to go back to my workspaces. This is for the Power Platform users. In my Power Platform users, for this data set, I need to go ahead and click on the settings again. In the settings, I need to go ahead and set up my refresh, turn that on, and then just make sure that everything is set up to the exact refresh frequency that you want, and go ahead and click on apply. And from there on, again, you've got options. If you've got an existing team, which is only for the Power Platform users, use that M365 group in your security to go ahead and share it with the members. If I click again on the Power Platform, right over here on the access, I actually have in my teams something called as Power Apps Champions. So I'm just going to use that because there's already all the activity going on. So I come back on the top and I search for Power apps champions. I just go and type as much as I can, shows up directly, select that, member is good, and I go ahead and add it. So now it's automatically saved to all the people in the group. The easy thing about that is it's an existing M365 group. That M365 group is already getting updated based on that access. And so that is the access which happens over here. And then the final thing you can also do is go ahead and add a tab directly in this Teams. You can basically come back now to your new team in the general, go ahead and add the one specifically for the Power BI. And in this one, you go ahead and grab for the Power Platform users right over here. Power Platform users, this is the one that we had for them. Click on save. And then that will go ahead and actually apply a separate tab for this customized report that you went and created only for the Power Platform users. So this Power Platform Admin's Power BI report is a much better option than the Power Platform Admin app as a model-driven app, because over there, first of all, you've given a lot of tables, which means you've got to figure out how to go ahead and filter the tables in the Dataverse, and then don't make sure you accidentally don't delete anything over there, because you may have a system administrator role. Remember, in Power BI side, you cannot delete because you're only viewing, and it already had all the slicing visualizations available, so you can basically go ahead and just view everything that you want, and it's available at your fingertips. The report and this data set automatically gets refreshed. You really don't have to worry about all of these other things. So hopefully this video was useful to you. Go ahead and get ideas from it, tweak it along to match your company's requirements, and then just sky's the limit over here. So hopefully, once again, this video was useful to you, and as always, keep using the Power BI reports with the Center of Excellence Starter Kit. Hello, hello, hello. So if you like this video, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and smash that like button. Also, if you have a few extra seconds, can you go ahead and put in a comment? Either say something nice or give me ideas for my next video. And until then, see ya.